I'm back. I know I was gone for a while because the holidays. The holidays will screw up any kind of plans. And of course, then, while you're recuperating, while I was recuperating, I should say, I found a video game that's been sort of eating my brain, and I might have to try to do a playthrough at some point, though I am sucking so bad at it. I still want to do an actual playthrough of Dead State, which I still love, but I've been sucking mightily at Lobotomy Corporation, which is a weird sort of time asset management game with monsters, and it doesn't give you adequate tutorials. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. It's one thing when it gives you some flippin' clue as to how you're supposed to suppress monsters when they escape, but it's another thing when it gives you no clue. It doesn't tell you anything. It's like, come on, tell me where to. Finally figured out how to arm and armor up my people. I was quite pleased with myself about that. I've been watching a little bit of gameplay, but unfortunately, there's only like 3 or 4 people who've played it the current version because it's gone through massive changes over its history. The current version in English, and while it's kind of entertaining to watch somebody in a foreign language, I can watch the Russian people because at least all the writing on the screen is still in English, at least on the one I was watching. But when you go to the original Korean version, I can't read anything. So, anyway, well, on with the show. Yes, gave myself a few days off over the holidays, and it's time to get busy again. So, this is another scene with Chiyoko and Hyde in the car. It's actually a long sequence of scenes because they're driving around, or as he says, Jun knows the long way. So, and there's a lot of merit to starting out. I mean, part of the point of it was to start out the new season sort of catching everybody up on where people were in their lives. And these two have just started out on this relationship. And so this is the most important thing to them at this point. And this is probably discussion going on. So this would be.
Okay. Never made that connection.
I forgot I turned down the volume because the game is really loud music.
How funny, I never made that connection.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. Never made that connection.
Okay.
Okay. From the tap.
How funny, I never made that connection.
You really don't care. You know my father is Hyde Pharmaceuticals.
This is where the second take on the whole scene begins. And as you can see, there's not much up here in the this is a stereo track. I should just assume I've got new people every time, or nobody, and I'm just talking to myself, which is more likely. I forgot to break out my chat window just in case anybody does show up. Chat pop out. Here we go. Off to the side. All right. Off to the side. You better run and hide. Now, so I can probably just copy this part and assume that it's going to be, because almost everything is on Hyde's track. This will all be kibitzing, and I'll go through it while I'm here to see if there's any good bloopers in it. This is probably hysterical laughter. How did I know? So I'm going to just blank that because I don't need loud noises. There might be some talk here. I like to keep the bloopers whenever I can.
If pull one more, and there's this you are a marvel. It's like,
yeah.
You said it before, and oh God, you'll say it again.
Yeah.
So basically, that's direction. We don't need that. I mean, we needed it at the time, obviously. We recorded all of these together.
You'll never see exactly which one is going to be most perfect.
Obviously, I didn't want to keep that for some reason. So really all I need is this chunk right here. I believe that's the first line of the scene.
You know my father is Hyde Pharmaceuticals.
And come on. My laptop doesn't want to come out of sleep mode. Though I already have the script up. Hello? Oh, you're being a pain in the ass. Well, I'm going to take that down here. And mute it along with that so that I can see what we've got up here. Really, what is going on? My laptop is just giving me tons of shit. Great. So I can't even open the script. I mean, to get to the script right now. Well, let's see what Control Alternate Delete does for that. Like, Alt, not alternate. Somewhere up here. Well, this is most of the original take of this scene. Except for the first line. So I'll save that in case I need it. Because I always save it. Because I do need it. And this was nothing. So let's listen through this minute and a half while I try to get my computer to behave.
You know my father is Hyde Pharmaceuticals?
Oh, I have seen the ads. Constipation is unbearable. Grr. How funny, I never made
What the fuck commercial was that?
Pharmaceuticals do make constipation drugs. I mean,
With a bear?
Well,
Bear
okay.
come in.
These
Bears
days they
clearly
make
have something to do with butts because they have those bear commercials with toilet paper. Bears and butts. Duh.
bears shit in the woods. I mean, you can't shit in the woods.
Where can you shit?
Dude, these days they have soap commercials that are about athletes with basketballs. No, wait a moment. He cut it in half. No, it's about fruit because it's a watermelon. No, he reaches into the watermelon and pulls it. It is a soap commercial. You have that kind of shit on the
Oh yeah,
on
but
this
it's just,
channel.
I was just trying to come with something that was embarrassing.
Ba-dum-bum.
Just the most embarrassing connection that she makes to Hyde Pharmaceuticals. It's not,
Yeah.
the money. It's just the constipation.
Yeah.
You know,
Shows you once again how basic Chiyoko is.
his family has made Hyde want to shit several times.
I will skip this.
Clenched him up real tight.
I will just.
Okay, some of that is going to definitely get kept. But, because there are some funny bits in there. Not the whole thing. But I'm going to take this much. And turn it back into a... oh, no. Make it into a stereo track and move it to the blooper track. I'm making it into a stereo track because if you don't, then there's too much chance of the two pieces getting out of sync with each other. And because it was originally a stereo track, I might as well keep it as a stereo track. Okay. Now click up. Now back over to the real stuff. Okay, so that simplifies things because we don't need the stereo blank. And we don't need any of this. So we're actually just going to get rid of those tracks. And now there's very little left to work with. Oh, so what the hell is wrong with my stupid... Apparently it's Firefox that's seizing it up. And I'm sure GIMP is not helping. I've been doing too many things on the computer, I'll tell you. I had to finish up a book that I've been putting together of Victorian photographs. I'm doing a series of books, and I only got one out last year and one out this year, but it will be a series once I finally manage to get everything done within a reasonable time. pictures of photographs from Victorian times that to illustrate different things like 101 hairdos, 101 dresses, things like that, because I have this huge collection of Victorian photographs, and I love the idea of sharing it with people rather than just sort of hoarding them and never letting anyone else see them, because I mean, I went to a lot of trouble to get to collect them, and frankly, I might as well try to make them pay for themselves, because there is that. They're not exactly cheap. I mean, they're not actually very expensive individually, but when you get a lot of them. Alrighty now. Okay, I finally got the scene up on the other computer. Okay, so we've got Chiyoko, and I'm going to pop mute her down a little bit. Just to even some stuff out. That's just clicky clicks, so I can get rid of that. And I'm going to bring Hyde up and then pop mute these pointy bits down a little bit. I use pop mute because I like to just, because it singles out the parts that are too tall, too loud, because this is the volume, and brings them down individually rather than affecting anything around them. So, now, we can focus in, wow, and see what gets said.
You know my father is Hyde Pharmaceuticals.
Okay. You know, when I was first writing this, I just started out with Hyde as a random, odd, stranger danger character who showed up. It was mostly, oddly enough, when I was writing this, I came up with this idea of, when I was writing the first episode, it was kind of a joke, almost. I mean, not a joke, but just a challenge to myself to see if I could write something in the style of an anime. And basically, I wanted it takes place at a high school. There's a variation on a tentacle rape monster, except it's killing rapists, because I like reversing things. And being at this school, you know, I was like, well, what could happen there? You know, what's going on? Basically, at one point, Chiyoko's lost in the school, and I'm like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Oh, her stalker shows up. And took the character from there, and suddenly, as we were going forward with the recordings and things,
Scene 19.
as we were, you know, working through the characters, when I decided to write more than one episode, basically.
Oh, I have seen.
When I decided to write more, of course, the character fleshed out into more than just that rich guy. I mean, whether he's a variation on, you know, every rich guy ever, which, you know, in my childhood goes back to, what's his face, Reggie from the Archie comic books. You know, but then he really starts, in season 2 particularly, to get a lot more serious as a character.
Oh, I have seen ads. Constipation is unbearable. Grrr. Huh. How funny. I never made that connection. I want to hear.
So, let's see, how funny.
I never made that connection.
See, I started to run out of breath there, so, but the volume on these two pieces is drastically different, even though I want to bring them together. This is one of those places where it gets a little tricky. Oh, stop it. Because see, if I do this, it'll be...
How funny. I never made that connection.
It's not horrible, but I need to even this out, so this is going to go up. And this part's going to come down a bit.
How funny. I never made that connection.
See? It's wonderful.
I want to hear what you need to tell me.
And this needs to go up a little bit. I may even out the volume more later, but I do like to. That's the thing telling me you can't go down. You're not playing a video game anymore. Cursor keys, man. Cursor keys. Okay. So... I'm going to move some things around, because what I have here from him is... I'm just copying blank space, so I can shift that down a bit.
You really don't care.
But I think and on his track, I have to make sure I blank out anything between his lines. My track was taken by myself, but his track, I was cueing him, so I think I'm going to move this back here, because it's just to sound a little bit more natural. I mean, he obviously would laugh.
Grrr. Huh. How funny. I never made that connection.
You really don't care.
I want to hear what you need to tell me.
I do not intend to introduce you to my family. Ever.
And?
Whoops. Forgot to get myself some blank space. And then this has to be blank. And I'm going to copy that. So there's definitely a moment here between when she says that and when he does. Because this is a very serious...
I do not intend to introduce you to my family. Ever.
And?
I despise them all and wish to protect you
Thank
from
you.
them.
I mean, he's worried that she's going to be upset if he doesn't introduce her to his family. Because, you know, that's what you do when you're dating or serious or whatever. And she doesn't care. Especially when you're rich. And see, this is his thing is...
I despise them all and wish to protect you from them.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't want...
He's over-explaining because he expects a very different answer. Now, it's going to take a little bit to adjust everything here to fit, which basically what I'm doing is I'm just getting the voices in the right place first. This is the way I do it. Other people do it differently. I like to get the voices where I want it because then I can get the timing where I want it. And I'm picky about timing, so... I'm just trying to get... I want to make sure I'm not cutting off any of the beginning or end sounds of words. That's one reason when we're in studio doing this, when two people are reading opposite each other, they have to give each other space for the line. So it's not like we don't go straight into recording. Our recordings are not directly ready for publication because they have to be edited down because there's a lot of extra time in there. Okay, we might be getting into just gibberish at this point because it doesn't add up. Let's go back to where we were. Ever here.
I despise them all and wish to protect you from them.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't want you to think I was trying to keep us, a secret for the wrong reasons, or that I was ashamed of you, or anything of that sort.
Why would you be ashamed? Why would you be ashamed?
Because you are not from one of the...
I'm not really...
Because you are not from one of the approved families, the desirable bloodlines, the wealthy ones.
He's actually in a really weird position in his family as well, because he's very much an outsider even in his own family, simply because he got the genetic anomaly that no one else got from his father because its mother had a recessive as well, which is why he's an only child, basically. Oh, hey. Hi, Intrepid Peach. I know, constipation is unbearable. Oh, cool. I have someone in the chat room. But yeah, wouldn't it be funny just
The approved families, the desirable bloodlines, the wealthy ones.
of course, the wealthy ones. But yeah, Hyde's in this weird position where even though he's not desirable genetic material according to his family because he's got the genetic issue, he still would be expected to marry wealthy. And that's the issue. That's the issue that he talked to Alice in episode 4 about. I think about. He basically told her that was why he collects up monster parts, was he's trying to find a cure for his condition.
The
And
ones that you dislike so much.
Yes.
I do not see. If
Whoops.
you do not. I do not see the problem. If you do not care, and I do not care, then it is the business of no. Then it is the business of no one else.
there we go. But that's the thing, is that even so, he's still expected to uphold the family bullshit honor and marry wealthy and all that crap. And he just can't be bothered. Which, now let's see.
You are a marvel.
Now, let me take this down a little bit. I do like that. I think we got some direction.
Take that again then. You are a marvel. You are a marvel.
No, I like that one actually. It's unique to him. It's not just the same old thing. So, but yeah, so, and he's not quite he's managed to make a place for himself because he's doing R&D work on drug stuff with using monster parts, because why not? He's got them. And he's discovered some cool shit, so he's left alone by his family for the most part, though he still has a vote on the board of directors and stuff, which he really doesn't want. And the biggest problem is, of course, that he knows he's going to die young if he doesn't find an answer for it. It's a completely fictitious disease, so it can do whatever I want it to. And that's the advantage of fictitious diseases. So, let me take this up a little bit. I'm just doing some volume evening up a little bit here. Let's see how the whole thing sounds for timing.
You know my father is Hyde Pharmaceuticals.
Oh, I have seen ads. Constipation is unbearable. Grrr. Huh. How funny. I never made that connection.
You really don't care.
I want to hear what you need to tell me.
I do not intend to introduce you to my family. Ever.
And?
I despise them all and wish to protect you from them.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't want you to think I was trying to keep us, a secret for the wrong reasons, or that I was ashamed of you, or anything of that sort.
Why would you be ashamed?
Because you are not from one of the approved families, the desirable bloodlines, the wealthy ones.
The ones that you dislike so much.
Yes.
I do not see the problem. If you do not care, and I do not care, then it is the business of no one else.
You are a marvel.
Okay, I'm gonna take a little. Stop it. Take a little bit here, and I need to make sure to clear the sound after that. Opening up one of the previous scenes that I'd already done. Oh, I should have saved this as edited. Hopefully I haven't destroyed too much. That's what I get for being away for a while, but now it's edited. I can take out that bit. One of the things that I'm going to do to keep all the car sequences need to be consistent, so I need to make sure that I open up 17 edited and check. Hyde is 50% left. Chi's 20% left. And then we have the car noises. So I'm going to copy the car noises right out of here. No changes. Car noises. About the perfect length. A lot of the scenes in the car are going to be fairly much the same. 50%. 20. I mean, because basically they're having this conversation cuddled up on one side of the car. You know, apart enough to sound like they're both on. They're not quite on top of each other yet, but also with the sound. But that so that you can distinctly hear they're both on one side of the head.
You know my father is Hyde Pharmaceuticals.
Oh, I have seen ads. Constipation is unbearable. Grrr. Huh. How funny. I never made that connection.
You really don't care.
I want to hear what you need to tell me.
I do not intend to introduce you to my family. Ever.
There's a little bit of...
And to introduce...
There's a little thump in here. Let's see what that is.
Introduce...
Let's just run a high pass there and see if that handles it.
And to introduce you to my family. Ever.
And?
I despise them all and wish to protect you from them.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't want you to think I was trying to keep us, a secret for the wrong reasons, or that I was ashamed of you, or anything of that sort.
Why would you be ashamed?
Because you are not from one of the approved families, the desirable bloodlines, the wealthy ones.
The ones that you dislike so much.
Yes.
I do not see the problem. If you do not care, and I do not care, then it is the business of no one else.
You are a marvel.
Okay. I really like that. I do want to do something a bit with his voice, because when he speeds up, it's harder for him to keep the husky sound
You know my father...
to it. And I want... Stop that. My fingers are just not obeying on the mouse today, so I'm just going to select it. I'm going to... I only use change pitch very, very sparingly, because it can really affect the sound of things. One episode of Fatal Girl in season 1, I pitched up, because I had a really gruff cough, and it was something really wrong with my voice, and for some reason I just couldn't get it to sound right to my ears, and now it just sounds awful because I pitched Chi up too far. No, I'm only going 0.5 down, just a scotch, just to give him a little bit more of a lower voice.
I mean, I didn't want you to think I was trying to keep us, a secret for the wrong reasons, or that I was ashamed of you, or anything of that sort.
And I might, because he is a little fast there. I mean, he is over-explaining, trying to make sure that he hasn't hurt her feelings, even though she's obviously not very affected by the problem. But Hyde is not the type to quite speed up like that, so I might take... Now, taking the speed down also changes the sound. Taking the speed up makes you into a chipmunk, you know? Taking the tempo down slows it down without changing the pitch at all. But I'm just going to see what this sounds like. Just a skosh.
I mean, I didn't want you to think I was trying to keep this, us, a secret.
Yeah, see, that sounds weird to me. It changed it just a little too much. But I am going to tempo it down instead. Roughly the same amount. This doesn't change the pitch then.
I mean, I didn't want you to think I was trying to keep this, us, a secret for the wrong reasons, or that I was ashamed of you, or anything of that sort.
Why would you be ashamed?
Because you are not from one of the approved families, the desirable bloodlines, the wealthy ones.
The ones that you dislike so much.
Yes.
I do not see the...
I despise them all and wish to protect you from them.
Thank you.
I'm going to tempo this down just a skosh too. And then I've got to compensate a little bit here, adding in so that these lines stay with that. I mean, it's just a little tiny bit, but it helps with the pacing, because Hyde is a more languorous speaker generally. And this, even having tempoed it down a little bit, is still very fast for him.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't want you to think I was trying to keep this, us, a secret for the wrong reasons, or that I was ashamed of you, or anything of that sort.
Why would you be ashamed?
Because you are not from one of the approved families, the desirable bloodlines, the wealthy ones.
The ones that...
Okay. Well, that one's about as done as it's going to get for the moment, I think. Because, honestly, the only other thing to be done, and I'm going to do it to all the car scenes at once, is to do an overlay like a room machine on it. And I want to make sure they all get done exactly the same. So, because there's quite a long string of car scenes, and I might as well just do them all at once when I get them all done. I've been working on I've got the outline for the new episode 4, rather than put at episode 6, because I had episodes 1 through 5 for season 2 written, and rather than put on episode 6 because I was having trouble with that, I'm moving 4 and 5 down 1 into being 5 and 6 and putting in a new episode 4, which is so much more difficult to write in its own way, because writing into the middle of something and keeping it consistent with both ends is far trickier than just trying to further a story. But actually, it's working really well. I may have talked about some of this before, but it's been the holidays and my brain has been wiped clean like a baby's bottom. That doesn't sound right. But anyway, I'm going to remember to save this one as edited first, because I always like to save an extra copy just in case. Okay, so we've probably got a bunch of commentary through here. Let's see how terrible we got at this point.
A little more high on that one. I mean, this is something truly fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Magic is something you don't really get into.
That's true.
You're science, dude.
First
Yes.
season trying to figure her out.
The goggles. God damn amazing goggles. I want my own.
A couple of rings of pressed aluminum
Rings
Yeah.
of power?
that can't be aluminum, and they're not. We can't figure out what it is. What the? Tell me!
Shut up.
Like,
It's not fucking
shake
obsidian.
Alice violently. It's just, tell me what they're made of.
Snips and snails and your fucking tail.
Excuse me?
Tlaloc may show up and want him back at some point, too.
No.
I can think at some point as they're coming.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna keep this bit, stick it over in the blooper reel. Come back. Okay. So everything there can just go away. We've got some probably commentary here. I'll just mute myself. Oh, how many people are usually in the recording sessions? Sorry, I don't always spot right away. I get absorbed. Well, when we were doing this specifically, we had all 4 of us there, though I was just queuing people. Part of it was, it's because the core characters, Ken, Alice, Hyde, and Chi, it's nice to keep those four present at least so that we can work off each other whenever we can. It doesn't always happen that we can get everybody together at the same time. Scheduling can be a giant pain in the ass, but it can be unbearable. Grr. But I'll have to make a t-shirt. Constipation is unbearable. Hyde Pharmaceuticals. Anyway, that would be hilarious if I made the right picture. But, yeah, part of it is because we like to work off each other. Part of it also is because, me, Ray, and Beverly all direct in one form or another. So we all kibitz heavily whenever we can. And it's we don't stay on track real good. That's how come we end up with so many bloopers. But it is primarily, for the fun of it. Please make a t-shirt. I'll put it on the list. So many things I want to do this year. But bearable. I'm trying to make a note here. Run off the edge of the paper. But the idea that it's fun to work off people. It's nice when you can focus just on your own stuff and you don't have to worry about other people. And sometimes that's better. But because this is kind of an ensemble piece, even when Alice is off by herself for like 2 whole episodes, and we just sat her down and did all her part, and we all kibitzed at her. But the idea that it is primarily, it's a group thing, and it makes it more fun. And I think it comes through in the acting, even though I then record my own part later because I'm behind the computer watching the gain and everything. Because we do have a tendency to blow the gain, particularly Alice. Uh-oh.
Sorry, that's a good line.
That's a good snicker.
Again, she keeps surprising.
Someone said it.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Sorry.
I am the only one it can harm.
I'm not afraid.
That is why I spoke of being the last of...
This is, I'm going to try and keep that snicker just in case. Okay, so it looks like we don't have a lot of good bloopers in this one. What's
A
this?
little more energy on there.
Okay.
That's all I can think of.
And I do like to
Lily.
listen because
Yes, sir.
Shoot.
No, he pulls out the little communicator from Star Trek.
That's the watch. The watch that does the... No.
Only if I tell it to.
Okay, and Hyde's car has its own onboard computer, basically a Siri kind of thing. But before, I think there was a Siri, but I can't remember. Its name is Lily, which is kind of... It is an in-joke to something else that I was writing, actually, originally, because I had this whole game scenario with a computer, and it was LILE, actually, and it stood for, something integrated learning something or other. Basically, it was something that had achieved AI status on its own. I'm taking this volume way up. I don't know why we had everything turned down so far. Actually, not quite that far up. But anyway, and I'm still actually gonna do that, the Lily thing, but in this case, it's actually just named after its programmer. I mean, we've got a whole different reasoning behind the name in this scenario. Okay. So usually when we record, it's only, whoever it is or a couple of people if they carpooled or something. I mean, when we have recorded in the past, I haven't recorded much except myself forever. When we did the Dunwich Horror, we had like 8 people in the room to do the townsfolk. I wanted to get us, the idea was that we would be able to hold the accent better because we'd all be doing it. Because New England is really hard for people for whatever reason. And probably the reason that I'm my apologies to anyone from New England. It's a lovely accent, but I suspect that one of the reasons it's not an accent that gets widely learned just for the hell of it is it's not very sexy. I mean, if you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, you're looking really good there. Yeah. Why don't you come sit over here? I mean, it's just not the one you want. I mean, you could pick up chicks with a French accent, with a Southern accent, with a British accent. But yeah, so but the problem with it, the real big problem right now, what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm blanking out any obvious background voices while I'm talking. But the biggest thing was that if you let one vowel sound slide,
I'm not.
and that is, it's a very simple one to slide, then you start turning into a southern accent. And what it is it's the I sound, because it's like way up in the nasal, in a Pepperidge Farm remembers kind of accent. But if the I turns into an I, then suddenly you've gone deep south. And and the minute one person in the room started doing it, everyone would fall into it with them. We'd all just get sucked right in. And it was so frustrating because it happened over and over again. I kept having to remember people. It's I. You know? And I haven't brushed up on it in ages because I haven't been doing any of the Lovecraft stuff too recently. I still have plans to do a really kick-ass adaptation of The Shadow over Innsmouth that I think will make people nauseous if I do it right. Which would be lovely, wouldn't it? Okay, fine, whatever. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that turns out someday. I mean, right now, I've got to start a new podcast to promote the audiobooks and hopefully get more sales. Because if I get my sales up on the audiobooks, then I can take more time to do.
Good.
More time to do audio drama. And if I don't, then I'm just going to have to go get a job, and then I won't have any time to do audio drama. So, sigh. It really is a make or break in the next few months. But, I can't... Well, no, I think I have a little bit of a monologue here. We'll see. Let's see what we say. Anyway, But yeah, when we were doing the New England accent, the reason why in like episode 3 of the Dunwich Horror, this one character, one of the undecayed Whateleys, ended up being female was because Reese was able to hold the accent for a monologue better than any of the guys in the room. And I'm like, damn it, okay, because I'm like trying to see who could hold the accent and play that character in it, and it's like, okay, it's you. It's now a female character. So it's hard, and accents are a big tricky thing, and and I mean, for audiobooks, and for most entertainment, I'm less concerned with getting them perfect than getting them good enough. Because I know that most of the people I'm going to be entertaining aren't going to know the difference. And yes, people from the region might be like, well, that sucks. But I'm like, well, we tried. I work with the actors I have, and I did, Um, but I mean, I do endeavor to do the best I can. One of my favorite things when I'm learning an accent is to study there's a place that I go, Accent Help, I think is the website, accenthelp.com. They have a huge range, and what they've got is, it's not CDs, it's just downloadable files, but, tracks. And they go through all the different vowel changes and the sound changes and some of the more common word changes for the area and ways of speaking and stuff. And then they have a whole bunch of samples. But, and once I get to that point, once I've listened through all the first part and tried all of the samples, I go find a stand-up comedian from the area, and I listen to them endlessly because I have always, because the advantage of a stand-up comedian over, say, a character in a movie is a character in a movie never talks that much. You know what I mean? I mean, you're like, oh, I need to find, when I was looking for a German character to learn a German accent, you could not find a German character in a movie who didn't either sound like Colonel Clank from Hogan's Heroes, or only had 5 lines, and therefore it was really hard to learn much from that. So that was, I didn't at the time find a German stand-up comedian, but I long since have. I like Henning Wehn, but I know there's distinctly different German accents also. And I picked up a lot of my accent from Falco, from listening to Falco's music, and it's an Austrian accent, which I think is very different. But anyway, I don't know if I'm right. I'm probably just full of shit. But anyway, so yeah, you got to pick the right thing. But comedians are great because not only are they talking constantly in one person, they're generally in their regional accent, but they also are speaking clearly to an audience. They're not just like some person who you recorded on the street mumbling away. And so they're the perfect balance, because they're trying to convey to an audience and they're speaking clearly for that, but at the same time they are speaking constantly. If I ever need a Glaswegian accent, I know where to go for that. I'll go to Kevin Bridges because he is, I oddly enough, if you've listened to all my stuff, he is almost exactly how he's very close to how I pictured Stig in Top Story. And I mean, if Stig wasn't like, born into a warrior race and trained, I mean, he's got the same sort of face, except like not scarred up like Stig's. But anyway, but the idea is, but when I ran across him, I was like, oh yeah, and his voice is exactly the way I pictured him. It's so funny. But he's a he's a really funny comedian. Anyway, so let me start with the lines here.
21.
Whoops, that's totally not the line. That is just the scene. I see. I need to check these things. Okay. Oops.
I should explain something to you as well. Is there still some time?
We have all the time in the world.
I spoke when we were back there in the dark of a curse.
Wait. Okay. This was probably some direction, and this is...
We have all the time
Told
in the
me
world.
There. Oops. Ah! The cursor got the... Problem is with my laptop here, it's sort of limiting my mouse movement, even though it's letting me read the script. So
Some time?
We have all the time in the world.
I spoke when we were back there in the dark of a curse.
Alice told you?
See, now this is a moment of a certain amount of misdirection between them.
Told me.
Because she's telling him about her family curse, which she hasn't, at least she hasn't told him so far. And he thinks that it's, that he thought when she mentioned it before that it had to do with his genetic issue, and therefore that Alice had told her what he said about it. And now he's going to find out that she doesn't know about his issue. And I mean, it's
Of a curse.
Alice told you?
Told me what?
Nothing. Pray.
My family.
Nothing. Pray, continue.
My family is cursed. It is a magical curse, though.
Okay. Always blank stuff out before you copy and paste it, just in case. Where does this sound?
It is a. It is a magical curse, though, not assholes.
And that's why he laughs.
And I am the only one it can harm.
I'm not afraid.
So he's told her something about his family. She's telling him something about her family. They're having this. It's also catching the audience up on who these characters are and everything, because it's, the beginning of a new season.
Afraid.
That is why I spoke of being the last of my line as a blessing.
Tell me.
I don't want that so close. It's like she trails off, and then he's, she's reluctant. Pardon my sniffling,
100
it's winter.
generations ago, an ancestor made a pact with a powerful spirit. It gave my family this power, the ability to step out and fight monsters. But this power came with a price.
Okay, so the goes here. And the goes somewhere else. Now we finally get the full tale.
But this power came with a price. The bargain specified that each new monster slayer, each generation, must kill a monster in honor of the past generation before being able to kill any in their own name.
Sometimes you put in noises just because, just to remind the audience the character is still there.
Name. And the penalty for failure, for dying before the task is completed, is to be lost forever to one of the more horrible of the ancient afterlives.
How many ways can you say
The bargain was sealed. The bargain was sealed. The oath was made. But my ancestor missed one slight detail. It was not one monster for one past generation that must be killed. It was...
so you must kill...
It was one monster for each past generation. Past generation.
so you must kill 100.
Did I screw that up somehow? As I was moving it forward. I did, you bastard. You always gotta watch that, but undo is your friend. I was like, I'm hearing that cut in halfway through the and going, Well, shit.
generation.
Ah, so you must kill 100.
Yepers.
Uh-huh. I am the 101st generation. I am the 101st generation. I must kill 100 monsters. I must kill 100 monsters for my ancestors.
Derp.
I must kill.
Nope, I hear the chime. That's my little clicky thing. It helps me spot where there's a problem. I mean, when I've gone back to do something again, but I gotta make sure I take them out. Otherwise, people wonder why I ring, because that's something a different character does. That's, Koval's.
I must kill 100 monsters for my ancestors. Any kind of monsters, demons, ghosts, all kinds seem to count alike. Then I can make kills on my own behalf. But I have only managed 13 so far.
I see. But you can have help? I mean,
Oh, whoops. Right, that is right. Okay.
I see. But you can have help? I mean, Alice.
Sometimes, sometimes not. I can tell if a victory counts, though. It is like a shadow passing away from me.
Oh, and you're Netsuke.
One for each of my ancestors. They are not required when I fight, but it helps me to keep track.
Ah.
A little more energy on this.
Okay. Ah.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay.
Ah.
Ah.
Okay. And now this is a longer scene. Even just that much, but it's also a lot of exposition. Let's listen through it. Oh, it's almost 3 whole minutes. And then if it's good enough, I can delete the spare parts over there. La 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 la. Let's listen to me talk.
I should explain something to you as well. Is there still some time?
We have all the time in the world.
I spoke, when we were back there in the dark, of a curse.
Alice told you?
Told me what?
Nothing. Pray, continue.
My family is cursed. It is a magical curse, though, not assholes. And I am the only...
I need to run a high pass on that. It's too breathy.
Assholes. And I am the only one it can harm.
I'm not afraid.
That is why I spoke of being the last of my line as a blessing.
Tell me.
100 generations ago, an ancestor made a pact with a powerful spirit. It gave my family this power, the ability to step out and fight monsters.
Ah.
But this power came...
Yeah, I'm going to cut that in a little bit. Not right on it, but...
fight monsters?
Ah.
But this power came with a price. The bargain specified that each new monster slayer, each generation, must kill a monster in honor of the past generation before being able to kill any in their own name. And the penalty for fail...
This I'm also going to tighten up. I'm just going to let his comments be there, but not really interrupt the flow.
name. And the penalty for failure, for dying before the task is completed, is to be lost forever to one of the more horrible of the ancient afterlives.
Okay, that just sounds... That sounds wrong. I'm going to go ahead and just use this one a second time because that one sounds way too definite, like almost like it's jokey. And that's not the mood at the moment. No. Nerp.
Afterlives.
Hmm.
The bargain was sealed. The bargain was sealed. The oath was made. But my ancestor missed one slight detail. It was not one monster.
I heard a noise, but I'm also going to take this up a little bit. There's a noise right here, right before. Little of breath.
It was not one monster for one past generation that must be killed. It was one...
See, it's one thing when it's a full breath, but it's another when you got... Anytime you've got a portion of something, whether it's background noise or a breath or something, it needs to go.
Past generation that must be killed. It was one monster for each past generation. Generation.
Ah, so you must kill 100.
Uh-huh. I am the 101st generation. I must kill 100 monsters for my ancestors. Any kind of monsters, demons, ghosts, all kinds seem to count alike. Then I can make kills on my own behalf.
I breathe too much. I just do. You'd think I'd be able to get by with less breathing. Yeah, no.
There's any kind of monsters, demons.
The trick is you gotta take out the whole breath, not just the part. You can see.
Demons, ghosts, all kinds seem to count alike. Then I can make kills on my own behalf. But I have only managed 13 so far.
I see.
Take this in just a skosh, and I'm gonna push this out. Oops. Just a skosh.
But I have only managed 13 so far.
I see. But you can have help? I mean, Alice.
Sometimes, sometimes not. I can tell if a victory counts, though. It is like a shadow passing away from me.
I don't mind leaving in some breaths. It's just that when it's constant, it gets really old sounding. Like I'm breathing heavily.
Passing away from me.
And you wonder what Hyde's doing with his hands.
And you're Netsuke.
One for each of my ancestors.
Once again. Just so I'm not answering right on the end.
Oh. And you're Netsuke.
One for each of my ancestors. They are not required when I fight, but it helps me to keep track.
Ah.
Wait.
Ah.
Okay, there's definitely noise. And I want to bring it close.
Ah. Ah.
I swear I hear somebody's something in the background, but I think it's okay. I mean, leaving some breaths in works, but sometimes it's just a pain in the ass. I usually have them taken out of my audiobooks as much as possible because they drive me nuts. But I think that'll be okay, and then I need car noise, which takes me back over to... Oh, we're almost out of time for the day. But I'm going to take back over to 17 unedited and copy the car noise. Now you'll notice, of course, that it's short. Now, I find it always when there's a consistent noise, like a car noise, I will copy through the middle rather than just tack it on the end because I might have faded out the ends. I'll copy through the middle and then paste it into the middle. And that way, you generally get a really consistent
Slayer,
noise.
each generation must kill a monster in honor of the past generation before being able to kill any in their own name. And the penalty for failure, for dying before the task is completed, is to be lost forever to one of the more horrible of the ancient afterlives. The bargain was sealed. The oath was made.
See how much the car noise alone adds to just smoothing out some of the edges of that. So, anyway, there is yet another scene done. Thank you for joining me, Intrepid Peach, and anyone who listens to this on here or on YouTube. Thank you so much, and I should be able to keep going most days. I may not make New Year's, of course, depending on who demands I attend to dinner or something. And at least once a week, I'm sure my mother would like me to prove I'm not dead. So I want to try and post somewhere, but it's probably just going to be on Facebook. If you go to... Oh, hey, you're welcome. If you go to the 19 Nocturne Facebook page, I should pay it. I'm going to try and make sure I post there anytime I'm not going to be streaming. I hope that makes sense. And we've got one more scene, more or less, in the bag. So one nice thing about long, heartfelt discussions is they tend not to have a lot of sound effects. And that makes them pretty easy. I'll pick a sound effects scene next time to do so that we can play with sound effects some more. And, oops, I have to remember to... Hey. Really? No, I'm not saving the web page. I'm saving the blooper page. How silly is that? Well, anyway. I'll wrap this up and probably go back to another hour or so of Lobotomy Corporation. Driving me crazy. Bye-bye.